We're talking education. Let's talk some specifics about Stadio. Chris van der Merwe is the founder of private education group Stadio. About 15% of South Africa's tertiary students go through a private system, primarily dominated in South Africa by Advtech at the moment with multiple brands. But Stadio, a startup out of the Curro stable, is seeking to compete. A joint model. There is a direct model, a traditional campus-based model, if you like, where you'll get a bachelor's degree for about 50,000 Rand a year, or a distance learning model, more like what you might be familiar with through UNISA at about 18 to 20,000 Rand a year. Why are you growing Stadio so slowly and steadily and conservatively when your competitors are involved in a land grab of epic proportions of anything that isn't nailed down?
Bruce, remember, Advtech is an established company. We only created Stadio 1 year ago. And you must remember we carried that brand called Embry, where we train teachers, and then we decided to unbundle. So exactly a year ago, we were sitting at about 1,130 teacher students. And then we started to buy out some brands to populate several faculties.
In Mill Park Business School was one of them.
Yeah. One example, and currently we're standing at close just under 30,000 students, so not exactly so slow. Now, question needs to be asked, why did we buy out brands? Well, in the South African situation, it takes 2 years to accredit a qualification. So we first wanted to populate a couple of faculties to make the statement to the parents that Stadio is here. Tick the box, we succeeded with that. And now, obviously, we've got the wonderful luxury of having enough time on hand to also accredit our own degrees. And that's going to take some time. So currently we have about 4 faculties up and running. We are on the verge of communicating our next 4 faculties, and eventually we will have approximately 10 faculties in our company.
All right, 10 faculties. The value of the piece of paper that I might get having studied at one of your institutions versus the public university, the brand value of that piece of paper. It may be the same qualification, accredited by the same authority, but you know as well as I do, hello, I'm from UCT, hello, I come from a place you've never heard of, carries different weight in the jobs market.
We are absolutely aware of that, but then again, we are very serious in terms of widening access, and you've got to start somewhere, Bruce. So we've started last year, and I think it's all about communication. And this mere conversation between the two of us on television has to do with sensitizing parents that there's other options. Now, as you know, I love the terrain of curriculum studies, and I can give everybody the assurance that the quality of our written curricula, whether it's in the state sector or whether it's in the private sector, is exactly the same. It's going to take some time, Bruce.
Why did you not buy Monash? Monash, Australian university, arrived in South Africa, all bells and whistles 18 years ago. They've just withdrawn. Advtech has bought them. Did you consider them?
We definitely looked at them, Bruce, but in terms of our mission statement, we said we want to make a difference in South Africa. We are here for the South African students in the first instance. We do believe in the quality of the CHE, the Council on Higher Education, in terms of curriculum quality. And we feel that the market in South Africa is big enough to create a multiversity consisting out
We'll
of...
talk about multiversity in
Yes.
just a second. But why did you not go for Monash?
So we believe that, A, we've got a responsibility towards our own youngsters. We believe that the market is big enough. And we also, like in the case of Curro, believe in developing the campuses ourselves, starting small, protecting your own DNA, and then building it slowly but surely. Now, you must remember, Monash is a huge concern. And you can remember how often you actually spoke to me about the long J-curve in Curro. Now, we don't want to make that J-curve so long again. So one of the other reasons why we then didn't pursue the avenue aggressively is you must remember that they are liaised with Australia. And it's actually easier for us to be a pure player and to take our qualifications through our own kind of legislation.
Should we see Monash's divestment from South Africa as an indicator of a lack of faith in the tertiary sector of South Africa, or South African environment at all?
Bruce, I don't think so. I personally don't think so. I think this was a business decision by international role players to argue that they've started something beautiful for South Africa. Remember, Monash it's a good brand. It's a beautiful university. We know the folks. I think it was purely a question of we started something and we don't want to carry on with it. Their quality is good. Let's leave it in the hands of South African role players to carry forward.
We see many, through the private schooling system with which you're familiar, courtesy of your startup of Curo, but we're seeing more and more private schooling businesses say we're losing children to immigration. Parents are losing faith in the political and social fabric of society in South Africa and are immigrating. People are also desperately concerned about what the future of tertiary education looks like in South Africa, and many who can and can afford it and have got access elsewhere are taking their families away to get access to other education systems because they have no faith here. What do you say to those people?
Quality happens in our classrooms, and in terms of making a business of either school-based education or being a role player in the tertiary space, you've got to think in terms of solid ethics. You've got to throw the most of your money to the phenomenon called learning and teaching. So you've got to take care in terms of when you build a building, when you provide infrastructure, make sure it is appropriately designed for learning and teaching.
Why should parents have faith in South Africa's tertiary system, private and public? Should they?
I think so. I think we addressed it earlier in our interview. I think if you take a look at the kind of human resources that our tertiary space also in the public's kicked out the past decades was actually of a high quality.
Past decades, the future. Is there a guarantee that South Africa's tertiary education system can withstand the extraordinary pressures that it's under?
So I'm going to give you an interesting angle.
In a minute, if you can.
I can. I had the wonderful opportunity of capping 300 students at Southern Business School, one of our brands yesterday. It was a wonderful experience. And when I mingled with the academics, suddenly it became very apparent that these academics also serve at public universities. So what happens is, if we want to write a new curriculum, we use and we utilize academics of several public universities. That's the way it works. So I have reason to believe that in my conversations with our top academics, they carry high quality, Bruce.
Are our children going to be globally competitive citizens 15, 20 years from now?
But that's our responsibility. It is.
Are they going to be? As things stand right now, is the system wired to make our kids globally competitive?
If you consider our top universities, remember there's 26 public universities in the country. Throw in the Advertex, throw in the Stadios. I thoroughly believe so. I don't think we can say this in terms of what happens over the widespread. But if you consider our top collection of public universities, those amongst the 26, and you throw in the top private brands, Bruce, as an educator, and this is my hobby, I think we can say yes.
One day you can turn it into a profession. Dr. Chris van der Merwe, thank you very much indeed. Chris van der Merwe, the founder of Curo, the founder of the startup, it is only a year-old, tertiary education business of Stadio. Thank you for watching Taking Stock. I'm Bruce Whitfield. Have a very good evening. Good night.